Hi, welcome to Mary's Vegan Table. This is Mary. Today we will be making Cuban sandwiches with black bean soup and fried green bananas with garlic sauce. We're going to start by making the black bean soup. So it's 1 can of black beans, rinsed well. Strain them and put them to the side for now. Now we're gonna dice up one small red onion and about a tablespoon of fresh cilantro. We're going to add about a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil to a small saucepan, a medium-sized saucepan. Then we're going to add the cilantro and the onions, and we're going to saute them. I'm going to add about a teaspoon of black pepper, and a half a teaspoon of oregano, about a teaspoon of coriander, actually make that a half a teaspoon of coriander. Now a half a teaspoon of cumin. About a teaspoon of garlic powder, and about a little teaspoon of onion powder as well. Just a little pinch of salt for now. Saute until the onions are translucent. Add some red pepper flakes according to how spicy you like your soup to be. I put in about a teaspoon. Actually, maybe it was half a teaspoon. Now add your black beans, stir everything together. Here I'm adding about a cup and a half of water. Try 2 cups. 2 cups will probably be more sufficient. You know, if you like, you could even dice up little pieces of carrots, throw a little bit of vegetables in there, peas, carrots, little tiny cubes of potatoes, or even some cut up yuca. I think yuca would be delicious in this soup as well. But make it your soup. Feel free to add whatever you like to add to it. Leave it on medium heat and cover and let it just simmer. Give it a taste first, actually. See if it needs a little extra something. Sometimes I wait a little longer to taste to see if it needs anything, because sometimes it just needs that extra time for everything to melt together. In this case, I added a tiny bit more salt. Okay, this here is the hickory smoked tofurkey slices. What I do with this is to make it taste more like ham for our Cuban sandwiches. I add ground cloves, some brown sugar, and pineapple juice. And then I just let it sit while I get the jackfruit ready to make the roast pork for the sandwich. So just mix all this up together. Don't add any salt because that tofurkey hickory smoke is already seasoned. It already has salt in it. So just add the brown sugar and the cloves, the brown sugar, and the pineapple juice. Sometimes I add a little crushed pineapple to it. It's also very nice if you could. Now we're gonna strain and rinse our jackfruit. I know I gave this recipe to you guys before in a previous video, but since I'm making it again, why not just give you the recipe again instead of having you go back and look for it in the other video. We're gonna fill up the jackfruit with fresh water and then add a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. You could also use regular white vinegar. What this does, it takes away that taste that it has from the brine that it was sitting in the can, and let it sit for a few minutes, and then you can rinse and drain and start squeezing out the water. So squeeze out everything real good. And what you're gonna notice is in this video is that I'm gonna take a few of the jackfruits and I'm just gonna put them aside. That is gonna be for the gluten-free ham that I'm gonna show you guys how to make instead of using the tofurkey smoke slices, which is made from gluten. Now remember to use everything of this jackfruit. the core, even the seeds. Smush them seeds up. You could smush them in your hands while you're doing it right now, or you could smush them while they're in the pan. But because sometimes, like in this case, it was pretty nice because this can of jackfruit hardly had any seeds in it, which was quite a miracle if you ask me. But sometimes you'll get jackfruit that is just seed after seed after seed, and if you throw all your seeds away, you're going to be left with no jackfruit. So just keep them seeds. They blend in very nicely with the rest of the jackfruit once the meal is all done. Leaving larger pieces of some jackfruit because it's supposed to look like it's roast pork, so we don't want it too tiny. The cores, don't worry about them. Don't even really have to smush them up because they're gonna soften up once they start cooking in the pan. There's a seed. Very little. Slippery too. Sometimes they go flying across your kitchen. Okay, now the ones that I'm squeezing here, these are the ones that I'm going to put aside to make the gluten-free ham with. We'll come to that in a little bit. Okay, so now let's get back to our soup. See what's going on with it. It's cooking nice and bubbly. The color is very pretty. The onions and everything, all the flavors and the seasonings are all married together. Beautiful now. Beautiful color broth. So now we're cutting up garlic for the jackfruit that we're going to use as the pork. I used 1 can. I'm using a whole lot of garlic though. Really didn't need this much garlic, but you can use as much or as little as you like. Being that it is just 1 can of jackfruit, I guess 3 large cloves would suffice for 1 can of jackfruit. But out of habit, I just decided to cut up a whole lot of garlic for it, which didn't hurt. Now I'm going to add about a tablespoon of fresh Sofrito. I'll leave the directions on how to make that in the description box. Although I do have it in my other video, but I'll leave it in this one too. And here, this is my homemade Sazon. I'll also leave that recipe for you in the description box as well. And the other that I'm going to put in here is my homemade adobo, and that also will be left in the description box on how to make it. And I'm pouring about 1/4 cup of olive oil, and I'm going to mix it all up. Now I'm coming to check back on the soup, make sure everything is going okay in there, And it looks like everything is going wonderful. It smells delicious. Now this is where it needed that little bit of extra salt. I know it looked like a lot, but believe me, it wasn't a lot. So here we added the jackfruit to a hot skillet. We're just gonna let all that jackfruit dry up. We want to get as much moisture out of there as we possibly can. So we'll just let that sit. I sprinkle it with a little bit of salt because the salt pulls out all the water that's in the jackfruit. So we just let it sit in there until it dries up and turns a little brown, and then we'll start adding our ingredients. Okay, so while the jackfruit is drying and browning up, we're gonna start on the garlic sauce for the green fried bananas. We're gonna start with I think I just threw in 3 garlic cloves, considering I used most of them on the jackfruit. But this is good because I'm only frying up 1 banana for myself, so this is more than enough garlic sauce that I need. If you're going to make more, you just add more garlic cloves and more olive oil. Here I added like 2 garlic cloves with about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And I put it in the blender and I mix it all up and chop it and almost puree it. But you could also just chop up the garlic by hand and then pour in the garlic and the olive oil and mix it up. And as it sits, it takes on more of that garlic flavor. It's really, really good. How pretty is that? I love food. It's such art. Food can be art. It's the colors, the textures, everything could just be, it's like art. It's beautiful. Okay, now that we're done with the garlic sauce, let's go back to our jackfruit. It's coming along nice. Okay, now we can add our seasonings. That was the olive oil and the Sofrito, the Sazon, the Adobo. Remember to taste before you add that extra salt, because we had already added salt at the beginning to help draw out that water. So now that it's taken on that beautiful color, we're going to add in about a 1/4 cup of canola oil. We need that oil because it just needs that fat to take on that consistency of roast pork. So now we added our oil and we're going to mix it up and let it just cook up for a little bit longer. I would say about 5 minutes longer. And then after that, we'll take a little bit of water, about maybe 2-3 tablespoons of water, and add it in. Here I added about maybe 4 tablespoons of water, just to bring everything together. and give it that little bit of extra tenderness that it might need as far as the cores, because sometimes the cores take a little bit longer to soften, and this will help soften it more through. But it really brings all the flavors, all the ingredients together. It really comes out beautiful. Okay, now that we're done with the jackfruit for the roast pork, we're going to start with the gluten-free ham, but we're using jackfruit for that as well. Here you can see that I'm filleting them. I'm just cutting them in half with a serrated knife. I learned this technique from Mary's Vegan Test Kitchen. If you guys haven't heard of her or seen her shows here on YouTube, check her out. She has so many amazing recipes. It's easier to start filleting them, start cutting them from the pointy end, the core. Start cutting through the core until it goes straight through, and then you have two pieces. Yes, I found the seed. It's okay. Just smush it and throw it right on in there with the rest of them. Like ham, I'm gonna add the brown cloves, about a dash or two, because it's just like 3 or 4 of the jackfruit that I filleted. Here I added some brown sugar. You can use light brown, dark brown sugar, whichever one you like. Here, of course, I added some salt because there's no salt to jackfruit. So I added the salt, not too much, just a pinch. Here I'm adding the plum sauce. The plum sauce is not only good, but it adds that pinkish color to the jackfruit as well. And it also gives it that nice caramelly, like it caramelizes a little bit when it's in the pan. And I like this so much that I think I'm not even going to use a tofurkey anymore. I think I'm just going to use the jackfruit itself as the ham. And here I used, again, the pineapple juice. Remember to use the pineapple juice that's 100% pineapple juice, not pineapple syrup. We don't want the syrup. Just the one that's canned with either that or just use a fresh pineapple. So here I'm going to mix it up gently so I don't break everything apart. Have a little taste, make sure it's seasoned up nice, and it is. Tastes like ham. It's really delicious, even the texture it takes on. Here I added a little bit, a tiny bit, smidgen of olive oil. You could use the same smidgen of canola oil if you like also, and just brush it around the pan. We just want it lightly coated with oil, and we also want it hot. And then we're gonna place the jackfruit down on the pan and leaving them space. You don't want to crowd, because if you crowd it ends up, steaming and just making a mess of everything. So we're gonna do. We're gonna let this sit. We're gonna let it brown on one side, then flip it and let it brown on the other side, and just remove it from the frying pan, and it'll be ready to go. You can see how caramelized it is from the plum syrup and from the sugar, and it's just really delicious. It tastes like ham. Like, you could serve this up to somebody and they wouldn't even know the difference. That's how convincing this is. I was so surprised with how it turned out and very happy with it, and I'm going to be using this from now on. So, matter of fact, like I said, I don't even think I'm going to use that tofurkey anymore for my Cuban sandwiches. I think I just may just use this. I mean, why not? It's healthier and it tastes more like ham than anything. Trying to get every last little tiny bit. That's how good it is. So now it's time to cut up our banana or plantain. Cut off the ends, and in this case I cut it in half because it's easier to peel in two pieces than it is to one whole one. It tends to break a lot, the skin, when you're trying to peel it off the whole one. But if you soak them in warm water, you can just peel the whole thing as one. You don't have to cut it in half. Me, I do this because it's easier. And it's easier on my carpal tunnel also, and the arthritis that I have in my fingers. So I got to come up with ways in the kitchen to lessen some of the pain. And there it is. And here's the next one. And banana, just cut in half. They just, cut off any little pieces of the peel that might still stay stuck. It's going to get fried and smashed, so you're not going to see really any flaws on the banana. Now we're going to fill up the pan little less than halfway. Let me see, it's about a cup of oil I'm putting in there. Make sure that oil is hot. You could do the test with the wooden spoon. See how it's sizzling. With the wooden utensils, they hold moisture inside, so if you stick a spoon in the oil, it'll start making bubbles if it's hot enough. So now we're just gonna pop these in. Be careful so you don't get burnt by the oil. And we're gonna let them brown on one side before we turn them over to the other side. Now we're gonna start making one of our sandwiches. Actually, this is gonna be the only sandwich. Unfortunately, I was not able to get in the Cuban sandwich with the ham that I made from the jackfruit because I ended up using all of the jackfruit roast pork, forgetting to leave extra for the gluten-free one. Sorry guys, but it's the same concept. You're gonna make the sandwich the same way, and instead of putting on the tofurkey, you're gonna just add on the jackfruit ham. And as far as mustard goes, you add as much or as little as you like. I don't like too much mustard, so this is how much mustard I put on the sandwich. This was going to be my lunch and dinner. So you could put as much or as little mustard as you like. And there goes that tofurkey. And it's good. It's got that delicious ham flavor to it. But I believe the jackfruit takes on more of the ham flavor. Talking realistically, for that realistic chew and that realistic flavor, it's definitely the jackfruit. So you see how I just put the tofurkey on? Just don't put the tofurkey on top, and just put on the jackfruit ham for you guys who can't have gluten. Also, you need to find yourself some vegan gluten-free bread. It's very difficult to find bread that's vegan and gluten-free. I've tried. You can make your own gluten-free bread that will also be vegan. I'll try to find a good recipe for that one and share it with you guys. If you find one before I do, let me know. The Deja Swiss cheese is not too bad, actually. It even has that sharp taste like Swiss has. So the Deja is pretty good. Now it's time to turn over our bananas. These are called tostones in Spanish. So while the bananas fry on the other side, we're gonna finish our making our sandwich here. I love this bread. And it's palm oil free too. And we know palm oil is no good for the animals or the environment. Killing our rainforest, the animals, the people that live surrounding the rainforest. And this doesn't cost any more than most of the other name brand margarines are that have all that palm oil in it. And it really works good. See, it spreads so nice. Okay, they're done. It's time to take them out. Be careful because they're going to be extremely hot. Okay, so now we place them, and one by one we smash them. I'm using a plate and using the knife to slide them off with a plate. They do have tools that you could put it in and you just close it and you squash them. Mine broke, so I'm using a plate for this. It's good to let them cool before you do this. It's less sticking. They won't stick and break if you let them cool first. So now after we do this, we gotta put them back into the oil, because these are double fried green bananas and they're so good and so crispy. They taste delicious with anything, plain, dip it with ketchup. They're really good. But in this video, we're having them with our garlic sauce. Let them crisp up a little more on one side, then turn them over and let them crisp up on the other side as well. And when they're nice and crispy, you can take them out, place them on some napkins, and sprinkle lightly with some salt. Please remember to use sea salt or Himalayan salt. Don't use regular table salt, because it's processed with animal bone char. It's not vegan and it's not cruelty free. Okay, let's get that sandwich in the skillet. Put it side down. Make sure the skillet is hot before you place your sandwich down in it. Keep the skillet on a low heat. Now we press down gently and we leave the other skillet on top. I don't have a panini presser, so these will do. I love my cast iron skillets. Okay, now before flipping it over, remember to butter the side that's facing up. Check underneath to make sure it's golden brown, and it is. See, I usually wrap my sandwiches in foil before I place them in the skillet, but I wanted you guys to see how it browns. It browns beautiful. When it's in the foil, it comes out a lot neater, like the cheese isn't all over the place. But either way, it's really good. Still comes out really good. Okay, don't forget to cover it back up with that skillet once you turn it over. Leave it for about another 5 minutes on the other side. Just keep an eye on it so it doesn't burn. And in this case, this sandwich could have stood in a little bit longer just so the cheese could melt a little more. The cheese was nice and warm inside, but not as melty as I really would have liked it. And now I guess we can start plating up. Yeah, here we have our black bean soup. And cut into that sandwich. It is nice and toasty and warm and really good. See, I would have liked that cheese to be melted just a little bit more. Don't get me wrong, it was warm. The cheese was warm and it's soft. And the scraps right there, that's for the chef. Now let's plate our plantains. And there's our garlic sauce that we made that we're going to put on top of the plantains. Isn't that beautiful? Food can be such a work of art. Here comes our soup. Here's an avocado. I had a bit of a tremor there. Slight earthquake. And that avocado should have been cut up a day earlier, but it's just me eating it, so it doesn't matter. We're gonna top our soup with that avocado. The soup, the avocado, and the little bit of spice from the pepper that's in that soup, it's so good. And here we garnish a little more with some red onions. Garnish with some fresh cilantro. And that black bean soup is good to go. It's really good, you guys. I can't wait for you to try this recipe. Let me know what you think of it after you try it. Send me pictures and stuff so I can share here with everybody. Now we're gonna do the taste test. See that soup? That soup is beautiful. Yeah, avocado definitely could have been used a day earlier. But there goes that soup. The sandwich, beautiful golden toasty brown with tostones crispy with that fresh garlic sauce on top. Here's the taste test now, people. You hear the crispiness from that bread, that toasted bread? It's so good. It tastes as good as it sounds. Now I'm going in for that plantain. Nice little crispy bite there too. And that black bean soup with that little bit of heat in it from the peppers and the coolness from the avocado and the sweetness from the red onions. Oh my God, it's so amazing. Thank you all so much again for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. Thank you, and I appreciate you all.